So there's just life, just lifing. That's it. There's simply not you and life. There's not me to whom life is happening. There's not me who is alive. There's not me who has a life. There's not me and life, just life. Just this aliveness, just this being alive, not separate beings alive, not me and you having our own being, my being and your being, just being. You can't find being, you're being it. You can't see being. You'd have to be separate from being to see it. You can't know it. You'd need to be separate and apart to know it. You could say there's one being, but that's too much because being isn't a thing. There isn't one ultimate being. That's what me has created, the idea of God, the ultimate being, of which all beings are a part of. This isn't about being a part of being. There isn't any one to be a part of or to be apart from. And so this message isn't about becoming one with. There's no one to become one with anything else. And the aloneness, the loneliness of self is that longing. And it is a cruel joke because there was never anyone to be apart from. What is this being, this living, this aliveness? It is simply all there is. Whether there's a sense of being apart from it or not, they're both equally it, whether you feel at one or you feel apart. There's really no difference. One is preferable, but it's all just being life as it is, however it appears. There's simply no getting it wrong. There's no getting this right or wrong, or anywhere in between. They're just stories for me to say about that I'm getting closer, I'm moving towards, or I'm moving away. There is no movement towards or away. There is no closer to being. And so it can feel a kind of like death in the resting in peace. Because there's nothing more to do. Doing can be done, but there's nothing more that needs to be done. And in there's no need to do. Doing is very easy and effortless. Purpose and meaning to doing or acting are seen for what they are. Ideas of meaning and purpose, with no intrinsic meaning or purpose. This doesn't make meaning or purpose wrong in any way. Hold on a sec.
Sorry.
Washing up's getting done, apparently. Best not to get too pompous about this. No. We're really speaking about the end of waiting, about the end of the one who's waiting. And there's no limit to the multitude of ways that self can create fantasies about what the future could hold for me and what would bring me the fulfillment that I long for. And so this message is dreadful for self, because it's not saying that that you probably won't get those. It's saying very clearly that that's an impossibility. There is no future in which fulfillment could come. This is fulfilled already. There simply is no more. And that is a full stop. Now, it is a full stop that seems to be flowing. It's a flowing full stop, but it is a full stop. The flowing is still illusory. This actually isn't flowing. It's absolutely still, but seemingly the story still flows on. But if your story, what you've called the story of your life, becomes just another story, or is seen to be just what it is, which is a story of my life, not my life, then the story is liberated. The story is free. It's freed from my need to make it better. It's freed from the weight that I gave it, the huge significance that I place on my life. And this message is very much in contrast to what we've been taught and how we've been conditioned as human beings to see my life as very, very significant. The utter insignificance of my life is the liberation that's sought. Every life, every human being's story is then of equal insignificance. And in that, again, really paradoxically, there's great love and compassion in the absolute equality for every human being's story. And even more paradoxically, great compassion for what you've called your own story. Don't ask me how self-compassion can seem to come from the absence of self. I mean, that is a true paradox, but there is truth in that. There's much more self-compassion without me and my demands that I be compassionate. It's just a natural ease and love that is there without me demanding it to be any way, any certain way. And again, when there are no selves, it's very obvious that all human beings are in exactly the same boat. We're all in this boat, this boatless boat, without a paddle up the creek. No one in the boat. No paddles, no rudder. And then it's glorious. It's gloriously free. Not free for me. Not even free from me. I've said that quite a bit, that what this message is saying is freedom from me, not for me, but it's not even that. There isn't a me to be free from. There is just this freedom. Not waiting for you, not somewhere else, not in another time or place. Not that someone else has got it and you could have it. Not that some have more of it and others have less. Well, as Darren's just posted, if you've got a question, just put your hand up, or if you want to share something, or
David
you've
has
got a
his hand up.
topic that you'd like to talk about. David.
You're muted, David.
I muted you. You hear me okay?
Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
And you. Commiserations. I'll get it in early. Commiserations. You don't even. I'm going to try not to laugh.
We was robbed. We was robbed. So it's on. I'm behind Wales now, big time. They're doing brilliantly. You have to say, Wales are fantastic, and so are England. Anyway, I was juggling around with some words, as I tend to do too much actually today, and I can't believe how much your introduction kind of resonates with it. It's a rather silly observation. It follows on from, you know, the title we had for your second blockbuster. I think Darren suggested it was I Am Cliss, something like that, as opposed to I Am That. If you remember all that stuff. Anyway, that's. But I think I've got the title for the third.
Oh, bloody hell, we're on to the third.
Yeah. No, have you got your pencil ready? And it was something I was playing around with today. And there was just two words, actually, that appear again and again in this discourse. Terrible. And you've used one of them already, actually. In fact, that word is already. Again and again it comes up, and it seems to really, it's very loaded in this context, you know, already, things being already the case, or
Yeah.
Nathan's book, lovely, Already Awake, actually, a really beautiful book that Nathan Gill wrote. And so it's a very loaded word. And the other word is enough.
Yeah.
This is enough. It doesn't need more. It doesn't need less. So my play on that, and you could pull in the Jewish community big time here, actually, you know, in terms of sales, sales. Yeah. I'm getting an echo here for some reason. But so the title would be Enough Already. That lovely Jewish expression, you know, enough already. You know, shut up. You know, we've had enough of that. So there you go, enough already.
Yeah, when you want to shut somebody up, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. It's multi-layered. It's got. Anyway, that was it. But what you said at the beginning, you know, I'm obviously being a bit silly here, but it very, very much resonated with that, actually. Very, very much. I couldn't believe, which is why I'm talking about it now. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice.
But enough already.
Yeah. That's good, Dave. I like it.
Oh, dear. Yeah, you're just saying that.
No, I'm not, honestly. No, I do like it.
Okay.
Well, it's very good because it contrasts the enough already, already enough, is in contrast to how it generally is for being me, which is never enough.
Mm-hmm.
Never quite good enough, even when it's good. You know, even when life's good,
Yep.
I tend to be thinking about how it could be better.
For sure.
Yeah.
So enough already from me.
Enough already.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Alice has a hand up.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, Tim. Okay,
Hi there.
unmuted. Just a question that's been occurring to me. Is there, when we say it's all this is all there is.
Yeah.
Is there, I'm thinking that's how we use the word this for the mystery. Is there another word that could be used besides this? Somehow it seems a little stark, a little bit like I just, I don't really get this, and maybe I'm not supposed to get this, but is there something like it's all energy? Or
I think that is the reason. The reason you've hit the nail on the head of the very reason I like to use it, because you can't find it, can you?
no.
No, exactly. Well, that will be one of the reasons
Team Mega easy. Team at Helgatom.
Sorry, Joey.
Joey.
Oh, sorry, that was me. I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry.
Hi, yeah. Okay. Hi, Joey. Let me just.
My apologies.
That's okay. Yeah. So I think one of the reasons I use the word "this" is because It is so well, because it points in all directions, doesn't it? So it's very non-specific, this. Whereas if you will have heard non-duality speakers who refer to this as consciousness or as awareness or as, they're the two common ones, but then they specifically for self, they're sort of pointing in your head, aren't they? You know, so I feel I can find those. And so the fact that you can't find this, Alice, that for me, that's one of the very good reasons I use the word. Now, the word doesn't mean anything specific. It means everything that appears, and it also means the emptiness of everything that appears. So, and I mean, that isn't how most people refer to the word or understand the word this, but that's the context in which I'm using it. And if you ask me for another word, then I could say life or being or what is or what's appearing or yeah, any of those.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't mean anything either. The whole message is saying that what we're speaking of is not a specific thing. In fact, it's saying that everything, what our ideas are of specific objective things is essentially illusory. And that is the duality, that there are things in relation to me and I am a separate thing. And the word this is just a futile and vain attempt to try and say, well, yeah, there is the appearance of a separate human being, and there is the appearance of another separate human being, that's you and me, and we can still talk about you and me, but it's saying that you and me are all this, along with everything, every other single object you could ever name, and all the objects that haven't been named. They're not separate.
Just to interrupt for a very quick second, Tim, it just occurs that it does contain the word is as well, literally.
It does literally, yeah.
That's enough.
But yeah, if you other people, I know there's not everyone resonates with that word, and a lot of others like different words, but the words aren't relevant to what we're speaking about. The words, I can't emphasize that enough. You know, getting hung up on, oh yeah, I like that word, so that word must be closer to truth. What is being suggested is that truth is unknowable. So just rest. There is no knowing the truth. Now that is very different to most teachings, which are all about progressing towards the truth, towards the reality that can be known. And what this message is saying is, there is no reality to be known. Who do you think you are? How arrogant is the self that it thinks I can know the absolute reality. I can find the absolute truth. And not only can I find it, I can then be it. We're talking about this is complete humiliation and absolute humility. And one of the paradoxes is that this message is often accused of arrogance, or those who speak it are accused of arrogance. I've been accused of it. I've heard other speakers being accused of, you know, the arrogance of this message. And it's just the opposite. it's not even humility. There's no one to be arrogant or humble. So Alice, if you want other words, you can use any of the words, any other word. You can use sausage if you want, it's fine. It wouldn't make any difference.
I really appreciate your explanation and how you went into it. It's very beautiful. And I touched upon it. Now I understand it better. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice.
Dario has his hand up.
Oh, hi, Dario.
Hi, Tim. I was wondering, in the apparent story of apparent unfolding of Tim Cliss, is there still storytelling going on? Like, is there maybe something happening, and then there's then there are thoughts appearing about what is happening?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot less of that, but yeah, that can still happen. Yeah.
And is there also maybe sometimes thoughts appearing that you find funny, or you're amusing yourself with the experience?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
When there's no one around, even.
Well, yeah, and when there's others around, it doesn't make any difference, really. Yeah, I can. Yeah, there can be amusement at what thoughts come up. Yeah. And yeah, sometimes they're shared or not. It doesn't. But the difference would be, if I was trying to say how they'd be different, is there's no significance placed upon them. Whereas before, whatever came up, a thought about the story, about Tim's life, would have great significance because, of course, it was my life. And even though it's a subtle difference, the story still continues. There is an immeasurable difference between my story and what I could now say Tim's story, the story of Tim's life. You know, maybe I'm pushing it too much to say it would have no more significance than Dario's story about Dario's life, but really there would be very little difference in the significance of those. That's the best I've got to try and explain how.
But there's still the knowledge about the story of Tim still there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's not significant. Like there's no me in it. There's no mine. No,
it's not sticky. It's not heavy. It's not like glue, you know, because the story the story is important to me. You know, it's my life. It's my history. It's me. And that's where the weight and the heaviness and what most people call the suffering of their life is in the sense of everything being mine. My relationships, my possessions, my achievements, my failures, my traumas, my illness, my failings, my successes.
Can I go one more round with a different topic?
Say again, sorry.
Can I go? I want to ask another question.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah.
So we use words as pointers, or at least sometimes people speak about words as pointers. So right now I could point to what is happening here, what we are doing. We're in a meeting, we are speaking, we are human beings, whatever. But what we're talking about cannot be pointed at.
No.
But it's still here.
Oh,
it's the only thing that is here.
Yeah, and it's all the pointing, yeah.
It's all the pointing as well.
Yeah. So everything, you could say all the fingers pointing are always pointing to the moon.
So even the pointer is the moon.
Yeah.
So the whole sentence about don't confuse the pointing
Well,
on the moon.
you can't point away from this.
Yeah,
No.
I'm gonna try though.
With the analogy of the finger pointing to the moon, I mean, it would be much better if the analogy would be pointing to outer space, you know, which the emptiness, which is really, you know, everything is essentially empty. And so there is no pointing to emptiness. It's everywhere. It's nowhere. So yeah, there's no pointing to it. Or away from it.
So it's so paradoxical.
Well, it's only paradoxical because we've objectified life. You know, that's what we've done as human beings. We've objectified because we've got words for everything, and the words essentially, the words are not a problem. They give us this great, incredible ability to do what we're doing here. The words themselves are not the problem, but the problem with words is they imply that I know, because I know the word for something, I know that thing, and I know that as a separate thing. And all that sense of it comes from I know myself, because every bit of knowledge is in relation to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though the words remain, without me, all thingness can be seen for what it is, which is the thing that I've called it and the thingness that it has, the being that it has. So, you know, this table is being the table and I have a word for it, but that's seen as very empty knowledge. That knowledge, including the word for it, the objectivity is, it's like it's seen for what it is, which is just a story of how we tell each other and how we navigate this unknowable life. So the wonder is that you can kind of have your cake and eat it. So there's still the knowledge and there's still the objective reality, the duality of me in relation to all the other things. But then you could say that but it's also seen very clearly and very obviously that all of that is absolutely empty. And by empty, I mean, it's illusory that I really know anything at all. I still know the words, but the words don't mean I know anything. I don't know. I don't really know table, do I? I don't. And one of the most obvious things can be, I've had this illusion that I know others. Because I know who I am, I can know you. And it can be, this can strike like lightning, like a dagger, that it can be suddenly very obvious that I've never known another. There is no other. Whilst there's a sense of me and I know me, that's the great cloud of illusion that covers the very obvious fact that you have never known another at all. And by another, I mean another me. And me plays the game of knowing other me's. It's not true. And wonderfully, there aren't other me's to know. And then the giving up of trying, if it's very obvious, then there's no trying anymore. There's no trying to get to know other me's, you know. all that illusion of intimacy. This is absolutely intimate already. There's no knowledge required for intimacy. This is already totally intimate.
It's so 180 degrees from everything that we knew as a me. Like finding myself, for example, makes no sense at all.
No, none. There's
And also
nothing. There's
getting to know someone also makes no sense because
no, there's neither you to find yourself nor to find another.
Thanks.
Thanks, Darren.
Tom has his hand up.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. There is a fear of losing the self. I mean, I think that there seems to be this lightness about that, but it's not very, it doesn't feel very light here.
No.
I mean, I think people would rather murder than accept this message. Some people, you know, and there is this fear of just like losing the self, the fear of maybe it's a fear of truth. It's motivated by preservation of the self. I mean, everything we do, most spiritual teachings, you know, I grew up Catholic. I spent a year in a monastery. I mean, it's like, there is this like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, I think a lot of the questions I ask even are trying to like, is a sort of this defense of the self, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can't even ask the right question or speak the right language or, you know, it's sort of this, but I just feel this trying to find a way to use non-duality as a defense for this self even. And I see my mind kind of searching to do that because it's an old it's a way of disassociating out, you know, from this message.
Yeah, and
I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, Tom. And I think it's very common for self to use, or self can use this message as a disassociation, yeah. So that a detachment. Everything, especially this idea, this notion that everything isn't, you know, it's nothing real. Nothing's real. This is a dream. You know, and that's so self. If self is afraid of real life, then non-duality can be attractive, or self can find this message attractive because it can sound as though I could. It's not real after all. Which is not what's being said, by the way. Certainly not here, and any non-duality that I've ever resonated with never says this isn't real. It's always saying this is the only reality. This is totally real and totally unreal. There is no knowing any difference. This is the entirety. There is no more or less. And so, but self can be clever and not hear that and just hear the unreal part. And in that, there can be some seeming comfort in that. Is that what you meant, Tom?
Yeah, and I think it's, well, yes, exactly. But also it's sort of like this idea, like you go to the funeral and nothing happened, you know, that kind of defense.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
To keep you from feeling like, you know,
yeah,
the sadness and like there's, I don't know, life's difficulties.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think there are aspects, and you know, self will do anything to preserve itself, so it can hear this message that it's non-existent, and then use it to comfort itself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more just for me. It's just more of a feeling. I'm so used to this defensiveness, you know. It's just sort of like I find and I know this old game of disassociating out and all that defensiveness and stuff like that. I just feel that coming up sometimes. And it's just sort of, you know, I don't know.
Tom, this is all that's real.
Yeah.
This is completely real.
It's habitual patterns, though. You know, you find your whole life you struggle to like be this sort of person, and you find
Yeah.
yourself in this world. So I've been in medicine for like the last 40 years, you know, and it's like the, I don't know, it's the opposite of what, you know, you're always planning, root cause analysis and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
This is sort of like, that's a defense against this sort of opening to this kind of, it's sort of a, I don't know, you know, I mean, I don't know, you know, I just feel that sort of wall come up here, but
Yeah.
it keeps me from talking about it even. But.
And self can't, you know, innocently, self can't help but be resistant to this message. I mean, self is the illusion that I exist. And so it will fight. It will fight like hell. It's very unlikely to just lie down and go, oh yeah, that's good, I never existed. And that'll be the end of it.
Yeah, it's not like there's some magic, like, oh, great.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of more like.
I'm not talking about any kind of magic here.
Yeah, I know.
You know, self is likely to kick and scream and fight for its life. It's illusory life.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to destroy this message, you know, psychologically, you know, like, I don't know. It's just weird. I spent years trying to avoid this message, so I'm kind of, I'm highly defensive against it. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's just what is happening. So.
and of course, for me, for self, it's perfectly rational and logical to be very defensive and resistant to this message.
Mm.
Yeah.
And yeah, logic will get you to this message too. I mean, I think it seems like you can tell, like with physics, that objects aren't, you know, are moving, and we're in this moving, shifting dance of existence, and you know this, and that our brains are objectifying everything, and you know,
Yeah.
I mean, logic will get you to that far, but there's still this emotional part that
Yeah.
doesn't want to let go.
No.
Something. I don't know.
No, it is. Well, self has become very attached and says that they're my emotions. You know, there is a great irony. There's a great cosmic joke in this, Tom. You know, that none of the emotions, none of those feelings, and they were never yours. They are never yours.
Right.
You know, they're just naturally occurring. You know,
Yeah.
what you've called yourself is just a human being, a reactive organism that's just doing what it does.
Mm.
It's so beautiful, you know. We don't look at other life and, you know, just criticize it. You know, you wouldn't dream of criticizing a flower, would you?
Mm.
But myself, oh yeah, I'm right on my case constantly about how my petals are not quite symmetrical.
Yeah, I can come up with a few things that this is not. I mean, you know, like I can see, I can compare it to other spiritual traditions and how that's sort of about like improving the self, or, you know, trying to make a better self and all that. And
Yeah.
this is not that, you know, that's what really, I keep saying, oh, it's not this either, you know, and then I figure out. It's more of a not thing for me, I guess.
Sorry, I lost you there, Tom.
I know I sound confused because I'm confused.
Oh, that's fine. Thanks, Tom.
Like this, I guess. Okay. I'll just listen and check now.
Can I just say something quickly, Tim?
Yeah, go on then.
You know, it's just in relation to what Tom was saying, which I can very much chimes with me. But Richard Sylvester occasionally uses a little quote. I don't know where he got it from. I mean, it's deeply romantic. It's like from some kind of Hollywood, you know, movie or something like that. But it does pull the rug out from under the notion, this notion of dissociation, and, you know, this is what it must be like to be great and removed from all the pain and things. But it's something like by some Zen character, but no one knows sadness like a Zen master. And he's just left it at that. And I think it's a nice thing to kick around in your head. Why might that be the case? Blah, blah, blah. And we know that Zen masters don't exist and all this kind of nonsense. But it does, as I say, it does pull the rug out from underneath it. Well, even a Zen master knows sadness. Not only that, he knows it more.
Well, there's no one resisting the sadness, and sadness is love. Sadness is intrinsic to being human.
Yeah. And in a sense, I suppose.
How that wouldn't, without, you could say sadness is the absolute purest expression of love, not joy.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, what do I want? I want joy, don't I? I want, I want some more ecstasy, please, and less of the grief and sorrow. You can leave that shit. And if you look at most spiritual paths, really, they're just suggesting that there can be this permanent state of happiness. Well, I can't emphasize enough what I'm speaking of, or what is being suggested here, is that is as far removed from what we are speaking of as you could possibly get. All that's being suggested is that human emotions, human beings are very emotional beings. And what me does is resist, either reject and resist and hide and move away from, run from emotions that are seen as unpleasant, particularly sadness. I like the word sorrow, I prefer that. Sorrow is deeply resisted. Life is intrinsically full of sorrow. This is always being lost as it is found. Everything is lost always, already. I'm emphasizing the already now. This is already lost as it is found. This is death and birth simultaneously, always, already. There is no gap. The illusion, the story, the dream is that there is this space between birth and death where you are living. That is not true. There is no gap between birth and death. This does not have any space between.
You wouldn't be tempted to follow the example of the old, this could pull in quite a few people. The old Zen masters who apparently would sit in the village square and eat shit followed by cake.
Right. If you're suggesting that I go into the village,
no, just do it in your mum's
and eat shit,
followed by cake.
Right.
Look,
I'd suggest that it's unnecessary, David. And I'd also suggest it's just purely showing off. That is just showing off, isn't it?
It breaks the ice at parties.
Yeah, but you're not ending with a kiss, probably.
Oh, the cake comes second, probably.
Cake comes second. No.
But that's what it's driving at, obviously.
Yeah. Do you think did Zen masters actually eat shit? Do you think, David, or do you think it's just another myth?
Who knows? I like it. It's better than bottling it up.
I don't think it is, actually. I think it's quite a lot worse.
Joey has his hand up.
Hi, Joey.
Yeah, if I was a fucking Zen master, I'd be very sad too myself.
You'd be what?
I'd be very sad as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's just a lot of sadness. Of course there's sadness.
Dario has his hand up if Joey's done.
Also, just a quick one. I just had an idea that knowing this is like trying to catch water from a running stream with a net.
Yeah, that's a lovely old, I don't know many quotes. I'm not like David, who is a mine of those, But I do know that was a favorite of Alan Watts, that one. Trying to capture what we're speaking of is like putting a bucket into a river, into a flowing stream, picking the water out, holding the bucket and go, now I've got it. That's good.
And the bucket has holes.
Yeah. Yeah, this won't be captured, will it?
John
I mean,
has
it is, for me, all of the ideas of knowing this, and this message gets very criticized from spiritual paths, typical non-duality spiritual paths, which always suggest that, always have at their core that this can be known. Yeah, which of course is massively more appealing to me than this message. That's why this message has always been on the periphery in the story. But you look through history and this has always been on the edge, and, you know, tiny, resonates with just a few poor bastards who can hear it. And the suggestion that you could know this, I mean, it's just pure absolute arrogance of self to think that I could know everything and nothing. Which is what you would need to know. And the arrogance to know how this works. I mean, that is the arrogance of self. That's science. It is beautiful. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but that's not what's being suggested here. The suggestion is that this is already completely unknowable. Rest. Take a deep breath. It is. No need to know. Your need to know is completely unnecessary. John.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, John.
This morning I was talking to our friend Julie about resonance, and I was trying to explain to her I was trying to explain to her that some speakers, I would have described having a sense of stronger resonance with some speakers than others. And I began to try to explain what it might be. And she said, no, it's not that at all. You're missing the point completely. And she said, no, the resonance, the mistake I was making was thinking in terms of there existing two poles, and I was one of them, and the other speaker was the other, and somehow the energy was flowing stronger or not so strong between those two poles. And of course, she pointed out that just thinking in terms of two poles is the mistake.
Yeah.
And she said, no, everything you think you're getting from the other person is in fact happening inside you, except you're not there. I mean, it's the what is that's resonating with itself.
Yeah. There's a lot made of this resonance business. And it really doesn't matter. And it can be a kind of trap in that the speaker or the words that you resonate with more must be closer to the truth or the reality or this or whatever you've fantasized about what is really true and most accurate, most clear. Well, it's just a preference. For me, it's no different than, you know, I like strawberry jam a little more than I like raspberry jam. That's how significant the resonance is. We're talking of preference, and I just don't think preference, it might be obvious that preferences are just what they are. So you do like some character, you like the way some characters speak more than others. You like some way words are put together. You like the manner in which some human beings speak more than others. It's of no significance, but that doesn't mean to say you still resonate more or like it more, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, because you see, when I was trying to explain it, I said, look, I think I'm explaining this in terms, I mean, within the story, I'm explaining it in terms of character.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a certain type of way of speaking, you know, with irony, certain type of humor appeals to me more than somebody that doesn't use humor in that way.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yes, I suppose what I concluded was that's just waves on the surface.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's just seen as, well, yeah. And it's seen as absolutely okay, but of no significance. You know, it's not worth bothering about. It's just, oh yeah, I like him more than her. I like her more than him. The most natural thing about being human is preference.
Yeah, they are just likes arising.
Yeah. And there is a great myth, of course, one of the great spiritual myths is, of course, that liking some, you know, desiring some, liking some, preference is a problem. Which there is no problem with it at all.
Mm.
Why does it need, why is it a problem? Well, because I should be, you know, if I'm pure and spiritual, then I will love everyone equally. I don't think so.
I suppose it's a problem.
How inhuman would that be? You know, that's not, this message isn't about becoming less human. You could say that it's being human without the constraints and the shackles and the bondage that I impose on being human. That's what I do. That's what self does. And life is simply free already. The illusion is that you needed to protect yourself from being fully human, feeling everything fully. Thoughts being free to be thoughts. Judgments free to be judgments. Again, one of the great spiritual myths is that judgments are a problem. Being judgmental is the most natural human trait. Doesn't mean anything. It's empty of significance, but it is absolutely natural. And the denial of it is the problem. In fact, you could say denial and resistance and hiding and running and from yourself, by self. It creates the vast majority of what we call human suffering, my suffering. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Joey has his hand up.
Joey. Hello, mate.
Can he hear you? He's driving.
He's driving and he's...
I think his signal's
Is
gone.
it me?
Ah.
Gosh.
Can you speak or are you driving? He's lost signal
Hold
now.
on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're sort of cutting in and out, kind of. Sort of hear you.
Can I say something about this eating shit business?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, obviously, if somebody needs to go to the village square to eat shit, followed by eating cake. Hold on. Let me go. Let me give it another go. Maybe you can hear me now better. I don't know.
I can hear you now. Go on.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, it gone.
Doesn't want me to do this, I think.
Oh, well,
Yeah, it's gone.
never mind. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to say before? Perhaps we'll get Joey back in a minute. For he can tell us how much he doesn't like the idea of eating shit. He won't be alone in that, will he?
You're taking it too seriously. It's not to be taken seriously at all.
No, it's fine. Well, has anybody got anything else they'd like to say, or we'll call it a day? Well, thanks very much for coming, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And yeah, I'll give a quick plug to the weekend of the 24th and 25th of July. If you fancy a banquet of this, you're welcome. Have a look at timclissthis.com, and if you've not had a look at the website, then just have a look for the sheer beauty of it.
And the piano playing.
Is it on the events page, Tim, the retreat?
Well, I think if you go to Tim Cliss This, then it just appears straight away, but it's on the events page. If it doesn't come up straight away, then it's on the events page.
Okay.
I think if you just go to the website, it comes up straight away.
Whether you want to see it or not, it does.
But if not, then it is on the events.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks again, Darren, for helping me out and co-hosting.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tim.
Pleasure to see you all, and
Thank you.
hopefully see you
Thank
again.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Tim.
Bye.
Here.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome.
It says, "Oh, Jerry."